Hello class, Mr. Fessett here. Today I'm going to show you how to use the bandsaw. Bandsaw is one of my favorite tools. It's very versatile, easy to use, and I've been using it since I was probably like 7, 8 years old, so a very long time. And we'll start from there. Okay, so here is the bandsaw right here. It's a pretty good one. This one's called a 14-inch bandsaw, meaning that the pulleys on side are 14 inches. That means you have 14 inches from the blade to the arm, so that's where your wood can go. And why it's called a bandsaw is there's a blade, and you can kind of see the blade right here, and it goes all the way around. So the blade is in a band. This is a 1/2-inch blade. It's a good blade, and the blade rides on these pulleys. So when it spins, the blade moves. Okay, so let me go over some of the parts of the bandsaw. Obviously I talked about the blade. It's right here. Here's the guard, and the guard has all kinds of things on it that help keep the blade true. Has this bearing, has these blocks. This bearing is so that if the blade gets pushed back, it kind of stops it from moving too far back and just rides on this bearing. Probably should put a little grease on it. And these blocks right here, these are steel, and keeps the blade so that it rides true, it goes straight. Okay, this guard also is adjustable. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. So when I turn this knob, it's gonna drop on me, so be ready for that. So you can lift it up and down and tighten it to the height that you need it to. And then it has the tabletop. The tabletop's very important because it holds your piece of wood. And it also has this little plate so I can get to some of the parts on the inside where the blade is. And there's the on-off, and you close it. And so that's pretty much the parts that you need to know on the bandsaw. There's other things too that I do. And when I change the blades, I need to adjust the height of the pulleys by using that lever right there. And it just makes it so that I can put a new blade on it. Okay, so I'm gonna go over safety on the bandsaw, then I'm gonna show you how I use it. Okay, so when you are gonna use any machine, any tool, you wanna make sure that you're safe using it. First thing you need to do is have safety glasses. So I have these safety glasses. These are built to go over my normal glasses. Sometimes I wear my normal glasses because these are shatterproof, but safety glasses are key. If you have any loose jewelry, I have a watch on, but it's not loose. It's pretty secure to my wrist, so I'm not worried about it. But if your jewelry is loose, then you need to either secure it or remove it. Also, if you're wearing long sleeves, I have short sleeves on, so it doesn't really matter. So if you're wearing long sleeves, make sure that those long sleeves are rolled up past your elbows so they don't get in the way of any moving parts, belts, blades. I don't want them to get caught. Okay, so when you're using a machine, you need to be the person that turns the machine on and turns the machine off. And you don't walk away from the machine until you turn it off, it comes to a complete stop. Some machines, like this bandsaw over here on my left, it coasts to a stop. And it takes about like 5-10 seconds for it to coast to a stop. So don't leave the machine until it comes to a complete stop, okay? So here I am standing at the bandsaw. I have a piece of wood that I'm gonna cut. And you'll notice a couple of things before I make the cut. First of all, that the wood is flat on the surface. I don't want anything round or rolling, like for example this. It can't roll on the bandsaw table, because if you notice the blade, and I'm gonna rotate the blade manually, you'll notice that the blade rolls the piece of wood and it forces it down on the tabletop. So if you turn the machine on, you're trying to cut something round, it's gonna pull the piece of wood towards the blade, probably get it trapped, maybe you'll pull your fingers into it. You don't want that. So the piece of wood has to be flat on the tabletop. Okay, the other thing that you want to do is make sure that you have a push stick. You know, if you look at my push stick closely, it has kind of like little cuts and dings and nicks on it. Well, that's all right, because I can make push sticks easily. But if you're using a bandsaw and your fingers are gonna get too close to the blade, use a push stick. Because cutting the push stick's no big deal. Cutting your finger, well, there's some stitches. This thing right here that I'm tapping, that's the guard. You wanna make sure that the guard is about a 1/2 inch above your piece of wood that you're cutting. See, the guard kind of like covers up a lot of this blade. If I had it all the way up and I'm cutting, look at all this blade that's exposed. Couple things, if you get knocked or pushed over, you don't want to run in your hand into the blade. Another thing is, with all these little devices in place, if the guard's lower, it keeps it so that the cut is cleaner and straighter. So always have the guard about a 1/2 inch above the piece of wood that you're cutting. This is a 3/4 inch piece of wood, but say if I have something bigger, like this piece right here, it's the same principle. Move it down so it's about a 1/2 inch above your piece of wood, and have a push stick at the ready, so that if your fingers are gonna get too close to the blade, use a push stick so that you're not gonna get in any danger. All right. Okay, so before I make the cut, the blade is running in this direction, and I will never have my fingers or thumb in line with the blade, because if you do that and you get distracted, you're gonna cut through your piece and maybe cut your thumb or your finger. So never have your fingers in line with the blade. That's really important, because the blade's not to come out and get you, you're gonna go into it with your material. So if you never have your fingers in line with the blade, then there's no danger of it being cut. Okay, so I'm just gonna make some cuts. I'll use the push stick to cut off a little pieces on the edge, and then I'll do some other cuts too. My push stick is just guiding the wood so that I can make my cut where I want to. And see how easy it cuts? It's a sharp blade. And any like extra material like this, just take your push stick and just push it on the ground and clean that up later. You can do some turns on it too. Like that. Okay, well, you can see how easy it is to use the bandsaw. And I use the push stick on every single cut. Doesn't mean you have to use a push stick on every single cut. Like for example, my fingers are about 3 inches on either side of the blade. And I'm just gonna cut this piece of wood in half, not using a push stick. But you can use a push stick, it doesn't matter. And sometimes I want to back out. I'll cut a triangle out. Cut a triangle out. And back out again. Do all kinds of cutting. Wait for the blade to come to a complete stop. And if you're done on the machine, then you can move on to the next tool. So wait for the blade to come to a complete stop. I don't want you reaching in with your fingers to grab any of the pieces of wood out if this blade is moving. I don't want you to cut yourself. Okay, so the blade is, and I'm gonna raise the guard, the blade is about a 1/2 inch thick. And I have this half circle drawn out. Now I cannot make this sharp turn with a 1/2 inch blade. So what I have to do is I have to do relief cuts. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a dotted. Okay, I have a piece of wood that I made a half circle on, so it's a tight turn, so I won't be able to do this tight turn. But what I have here are relief lines. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a series of relief cuts that will allow me later to make this tight turn. So watch. Well, I have most of it cut out. It's kind of rough on the inside, but I can always use another tool to clean that up. So whenever you're doing a tight turn on the bandsaw, the blade won't allow you to do that. If you try to do that, you might break the blade or damage the machine. So make relief cuts, and then you can just cut off little pieces as you go. Here you go. So here are my items of review. I think for an activity, I would like you to put these in order of most important to keep yourself safe to least important. Here's a clue as to which one is most important.